Once again, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our forum on tips for publishing SSM studies. Thank you for attending the session on such a short notice. So I think we'll begin our session today. We have been waiting for 5 minutes for the audience to flow in. So as you may have known, SSM is a compulsory research module for year 4 and 5 students, where the students will undergo the full cycle of research process, from writing a proposal, obtaining critical approval, conducting research, analyzing the data, and finally writing out the manuscript. So each year, we have over 35 SSM projects, and some of which win prizes at the Medical Undergraduate Annual Scientific Research Meeting. So if all these studies were published as full papers, it will significantly enhance the faculty publication output. However, this is not always the case. So I still believe that good papers stem from good research, and SSM studies should be planned, executed, and being written effectively to achieve applications. So today, we have the privilege of inviting several lecturers with experience publishing SSM studies in journal with impact practice. So first of all, we have Prof. Zaili, the head of SSM module, and I believe her latest SSM papers was published in Frontiers in Psychiatry. Secondly, we have Prof. Susana Mapo from Department of Biochemistry. Her latest SSM paper was published in Medicine and Health and also Archives of Medical Science. We also have Associate Professor Lo Jiaxian from Department of Tissue Engineering and Regenerative Medicines. And his latest SSM papers appear in Science Malaysiana, am I correct? And fourthly, we have Dr. Wong Sok Kwan from the Department of Pharmacology, who has recently received the Anugerah Satis Muda Negara Award and the L'Oreal Women in Science Award. Congratulations to her. And I believe her latest SSM paper was published in Functional Food. Okay. So I'm going to introduce myself. But anyway, I am Gabriel for the Department of Pharmacology. I'm your moderator today. And with this impressive line of panelists, we hope that the audience will benefit greatly from their expertise. So for this forum, there's only one rule for the sessions. There will be no PowerPoint presentation. There's a Q&A format. And the audience is strongly encouraged to post a question in chat or raise, I'm not sure we can raise their hands, but then to post in chat and also in Q&A box later, so that we can read out your questions and then we can ask panelists to solve some of your burning issues. So I think as a moderator of sessions, I have the duty of warming up the sessions. So let me start by asking the first questions. I think these questions will be, how do I say, dedicated to Prof. Zaili as the head of module. So why is it necessary for us to publish some studies? Why are we forcing some of the panelists is using the word forcing them to publish? So, and I think we make it compulsory for the supervisor to publish a study before taking a new batch of students, right? So Prof, why is it necessary?
Okay, thank you, Prof. So good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and thank you for being here. Okay, so this evening we're talking about SSM studies. The first question is a hard question. Actually, why must we publish SSM studies? Okay, so I'll just go straight to the answer. Usually, I think we all know already that we have objective here with SSM module. So the objective is to teach the students in whatever way that we can to do research. So I think in order to do research, we teach them about the methodology. We tell them to seek ethics approval, but at the same time, we must also let the student know or teach them how to properly disseminate or publish the findings that they have worked on for 1 year. So I think it is not complete. It won't be complete if we say that we teach students to do research only, but we do not teach them how to disseminate the findings that they have already got from their research projects. So that is the main objective. So the spirit of publishing or publication in SSM is very high. So in other words, I think that there are a lot of advantages that the student can gain by getting their manuscript published. It is not, I think it is not strictly like how do I call it, a must, like we have a demerit system for lecturers who are not helping the students to publish. But in a way, I think it is something that will that can inform us on the the eagerness to help teach the student, as to what extent. I do understand from Prof. Prof. Gabriel that some of the studies are not really published, but I do believe that you may need some time also to publish. Okay, based on my experiences also, sometimes it takes years to actually get the manuscript accepted by the suitable journal. So we shifted from one journal to another journal, but the spirit must be there. Okay, so I guess what I can say is that our aim, as usual, is to make sure that the students teach all the relevant processes in doing research and also publication. Okay, so I think that's how my comment is lah, Prof. Gap.
Thank you, Professor Riley, for the wonderful answer. So, everyone, I think the essence of SSM is for the students complete the research process, and essentially publication is part of the process. And we are trying to make this happen, whatever means it is. Okay. So the next questions, ladies and gentlemen. I think we don't have questions from the audience yet, so let me continue to ask questions. So I think this is for how do I say, for the panelists across the board. So may I know how many times have you supervised some students, and how many papers do you have with your students during the publication process? What are the challenges that you face when publishing these papers? I think we can start from Prof. Susanna to answer these questions.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon. Thank you, Dr. Gabriel, for the questions. So I supervise SSM students for 3 times, okay, in the year of in the session of 2009, 2010, and then 2014 to 2015. And the most recent one was in 2020, 2021. So for the 3 times I work together with the SSM students, Alhamdulillah, I managed to publish 3 papers. 2 papers in medicine and health, and 1 paper in archive of medical science. So in terms of the challenges, I think for me, because we were doing laboratory research, so the main problem is not having so comprehensive data, because in order to publish in a good journal, we need a lot of data. The data must be comprehensive so that the story in the manuscript will be complete. So basically, that's the main problem, because when we want to have more data, we need to measure, the students need to measure more parameters. And by measuring more parameters, the budget should be more, okay? I think for molecular studies, because if we want to publish in a good journal, the parameter should be like quite an advanced parameters. Okay, therefore, the study will be more expensive. And normally, if we have other research grant, then that would be fine, because we can also use our research grant to find some of the parameters for SSM. So, I mean, for me, that's the main a major challenge that I find in order for me to publish in a very good journal. Secondly, it's about the accuracy or validity of the data, because SSM students, medical students, they were not exposed to any research before they do their SSM. So sometimes we get data with big SDs, okay, with big SDs. And because in doing research, the skill or techniques, okay, is very important. And normally we had difficulty to train the students to make sure that their techniques are okay. So when the data has got big SDs and when we analyze the data, it becomes not significant. So again, it becomes quite difficult to publish, okay, when it is not so significant due to maybe limitations to the technique, maybe, or maybe because of the numbers, okay, the number of the tests or the number of subjects or the number of samples used by the students. So I think for me, those are the two main challenges that I face in order to publish the findings from SSM study in a very good paper. So maybe the others may face different challenges. So I think that's all for me for now, Prof. Gabriel.
Thank you, Prof. Zana. So next we move on to Dr. Lau. So how about students in DTEM? Because students in DTEM also working on molecular studies, cellular studies, and but students in DTEM do win quite some prizes in Mosam each year. So any similar challenges or other challenges that you have faced in getting your paper published?
All right, okay. Thanks, Gabriel. So I think actually I have to echo Prof. Susanna. Actually, so whatever she's facing, actually are also the problems that we are facing. And so far, actually until today, actually I have 2 batches of SSM students. My first batch I've managed to publish in Science Malaysiana. The second batch just finished our project this year. We just complete the manuscript, and I also would like to top up some extra experiments before I actually want to send for publications. Because of, yes, I think of the amount of data actually collected, actually, my probably actually is very limited. Actually, this major issue because the time is limited actually for the SSM students actually, and they are very busy. We don't have enough time to train them to do some of the extra tests, and once we train them already, so we probably don't have time to run so many samples. So at the end of the day, actually we might end up with sample size n equals to 3 or 4, something like this. Then when the sample size is small, actually it's less likely to get significant difference, and most of the time we probably can see a trend of increase with time, increase with concentrations, and so on. Actually, yeah. So when we see this, actually it's very difficult actually to publish into very good journal if you are aiming for Q1, Q2. So sometimes actually I think actually when you want to publish your SSM paper, you have to be a bit realistic. Depending on the amount of data that you have, then you aim for the right journal. If you're aiming too high, then probably you will have a lot of rejections that might feel discouraged. So if you don't want, so probably actually you have to actually align your paper with the suitable journals actually to avoid all these actually too many rejections. And of course, actually for me, actually I always top up, get my postgraduate students, sometimes actually to top up 1 or 2 experiments actually to make it more comprehensive, to go into a better journal. So we always, so apart from me in our centers, actually we have quite a lot of SSM students, and most of the times actually their work is can be part of the bigger projects. Actually, what we do is actually we have a bigger project. So probably one of the extra objectives that we actually or sharing of some of the sample because of the limited budgets actually. So we have to share the sample maybe for the animal study. So the students actually harvest the tissue already, and we also collect extra tissue. Then we probably actually can do some work on all this extra tissue and see what are the changes to this tissue, or maybe we just simply check for toxicity of the major organ when we work with the animal model of our treatment modality, see whether it is safe or not. Yeah, so some simple actually experiments actually that we can do based on the budget that we have. And of course, actually a lot of times actually we probably have to top up for other research project as well. So if you have an ongoing research project, then probably you can design something that align with whatsoever you are doing at the moment. So some of the consumable, then probably you can share. And the 5K is actually will be just sufficient for you to buy maybe just 1 or 2 extra ELISA kit or whatsoever that probably actually to help you to enhance the result that you're going to collect. Yeah, from here then you can save a lot of money and generate more data lah, from the limited budget you have. And of course, actually, when you design the experiments, actually, you have to be realistic. Because actually, I always actually think of actually that can I do some experiments that collect a lot of data, but I don't need a lot of money? Or maybe it's actually from one set of experiments, can I collect a lot of data? So maybe I can give an example. Actually. So I do cell culture, I do EV, right? Actually, and I do a lot of stem cell culture. And one of the methods actually I'm very interested is actually to reduce the cost. That's why actually I developed methods of preparing in-house HPL, human platelet lysate, to replace the fetal bovine serum, which is very expensive for culture. So I do this one already. Then my SSM students actually, we continue to improve of it actually from all these HPL. And a parameter I do is very simple only. So actually, I just culture the cells and then exposed to different HPL. And from the same cultures, actually, I examine the cell morphology. So I measure the length, the width, then I study their size, the shape of the cells, their fibroblastic and so on. Then from the same sets, actually, I capture image from time to time, actually, so that I determine whether their confluency changes. And at the end of the day, I trypsinize for cell count. So from the cell count, actually, I get the cell number, doubling time, then I get the cell viability. From here, I can get quite a lot of data from one set of experiments. And then after I do the cell counts, actually, the cells I use it to actually collect mRNA for PCR. Yeah, so basically, it's actually from here, it's actually you are from one culture, then you actually collect quite a lot of data already, and you can actually use to generate a lot of data, and all these data is actually are very useful. So for me, it's suitable for SSM students because they don't have enough time to do many sets and culture a lot of cells actually. So from here, actually one set you can collect your data. Then I think it's actually something like we are practicing here last actually in season, so that we can maximize the output from a short period of time and limited amount of budget. Yeah, I think that's all for now. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Law, for the innovative approach. Okay, so how to proposing a studies with sequence of studies that can generate a lot of data. Okay, to maximize output of the project. So what about Dr. Wong? Any challenges that you face in pharmacological lab?
All right, thank you very much for inviting. So anyway, I actually have 2 batches of SSS student. My first batch is on 2020 to 2022. The second one is just a recent one, which is 2023 to this year, just ending in October the other day. So, but basically, for the SSM paper that I've published is actually just one, so which is the previous one, because the recent one is just finishing. So we are actually finalizing up the manuscript, and we look forward to publication as well. So anyway, I think the challenges I think will be more or less the same, in the sense that because it will be a very small group of people. I mean, a few people, but the thing is because of the limited time frame given during the SSM study. So in a way, because of limited timing, so we cannot be so ambitious in that. So we must be make sure that the time, everything should be reasonable for the students to complete. So I think this is quite challenging in terms of coming out for the right amount of parameters that to be able to complete it by the students with the time frame allocated. So of course, in a way that we need to come up with how to say a complete I think as long as it's more important that the parameter is simple, but yet it can be come up with a complete stories that makes sense, then makes the manuscript make sense. So the second challenges that I have is I think it require longer times for the for us as a lecturer to train the students, okay, in terms of how do we doing the lab work and everything. So considering that they are the first time doing the lab work, so I think the most important challenges is the longer times that needed to train the students besides the 7 weeks that are fully concentrate on the lab work. Okay, and then third one will be actually the financial one, because the financial is actually just 5,000 ringgit for the whole project. So I think it just have to be very concise in selecting which parameter, right? So some of the suggestion can be like, let's say, using existing samples. For example, if let's say we have the some of the slides ready, histological slides, but we make into counting different parameters. For example, we have different cells. Like me, I'm working on bone, so we have multiple different bone cells. Maybe it can be osteoblasts, osteoclasts, and osteocytes. So you can count different things. So therefore, I think in that way it can save a little bit of the money. So we can have a more comprehensive data collection with the existing sample that we have. I think that's all for me for the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sok Kwan. So now we turn to clinical studies. So Zaili, any challenges you face
Yeah,
in
okay.
for
So
your students to collect clinical data?
yeah, so I think for clinical, I'm actually in the area of psychiatry. So if you ask about other studies like medical field, it may have some differences. Okay, so mine is a bit like social work or social science area. So in a way, I think the challenges are the same, like what has been discussed. The first one is getting the right sample size. So as we all know, the only type of study that is suitable for SSM, I think, yeah, because of the time limitation, is cross-sectional. So usually I would advise my students to do a cross-sectional studies, but when you do a cross-sectional studies, sample size is very important. So there are always challenges in getting the right or enough sample size. How to go about it? I think previously I had 3 publications. One publication is I was co-supervising with another lecturer, and then the other 2 is mine from the clinical side. So the studies are all about getting say enough sample lah. They involve about getting enough sample from clinics, the 2 studies, and then another one is actually being done not here, or actually in Indonesia, part of a student's project. So let's just look at the challenges that I face when we want to do studies like in clinic settings. Okay, number one, you have to see where is the clinic. So if you want to have less issues, rather than looking for clinics in the Ministry of Health area, I think it would be wise enough, for students to choose clinics in our university. That is because of the time limitation. And then, as you all know, there are also 2 types of how to get samples. Okay, so one, patient come one by one and you see and screen whether it's suitable or not, the study, and then you you include them in the study. Another one is when you have groups of patients, whereby patient coming in groups, and then you deliver the questionnaires. So I think if you can find uh a study that can actually accommodate a group of participants, that will be easier. Okay, because usually when they come in groups, therefore the you can have more samples rather than you have to wait in the clinic one by one. Okay, so for my previous study, the study that include patients from cardio clinic, it was a bit difficult because of the inclusion criteria. So usually I will work with the relative doctors or specialists who are in charge of the clinic. Therefore, we communicate well. So usually the specialist in the relevant clinic will know, when will this patient come, the follow-up and so on. So I will make sure that the students also communicate, with the team from the clinic. And then the study process, if you want to finish all the sample size collection for the SSM, for this SSM module, it must be commenced early, meaning that you cannot wait for the 7 weeks, and the end of the study, you just want to collect sample. No, that's not doable. So therefore, everything has to be done on time, meaning that the ethics approval has to be obtained quite early in a way, yeah, so that you can start recruiting patients enough for your sample size. And then, okay, for psychiatric study also, we maybe later on or now, so I can touch on it. So the methodology must be quite good to make sure that it's publishable. What I meant by good is that usually for this kind of studies, we use questionnaires. So the questionnaires, please make sure that it is validated. Yeah, try to use validated questionnaire rather than questionnaire that we make on our own or survey questionnaires, because usually those are the kind of questions that can be raised by reviewers. If you use validated questionnaires, so less questions will be asked regarding, the authenticity or the validity of the study. And then after that, the challenges that I faced during the study is during the, when you got all the samples, and then what to do with the data. Okay, we encourage the students to be to keep track with statistics clinic. Last time there was statistics clinic, kan? So usually the students are encouraged to go there and discuss also, because I think there are some data that needs to do more extensive or, further analysis, which can be taught much better by statisticians. Okay, so those are the other things that I face. So in order for you to get your studies published for psychiatric study, you must have quite, I think, quite good, not really good, but at least some of the findings should be good enough for you to have a discussion. Sometimes, even though you have non-significant findings, if you can discuss regarding, what is the relevance of the non-significance, it can still be published. So I guess discussion with statisticians is also important in order, to get the studies publishable. Okay, and then maybe lastly, the other challenges that I face is that because the students, usually when you want to publish a manuscript, the students are we have 4 to 5 students per group. So the issue is we have to start early. I will start early. Usually, for example, if the manuscript preparation will start even before they actually do the sample, the data collection, because we already have the proposal, we already know what to put in the introduction of the study. So I would actually schedule the students to do the writing even from the beginning. So they can do the introductory sessions, introduction, and then they will come to have a meeting, and then we will discuss on it. So the task of the lecturer is to see what they have written and to comment there and then, so that by the time at the end of the SSM research project, you already has sort of completed all the areas that can be covered. Of course, not the result and finding, that will be take later, but the introduction part and the methodology part you can do. Okay, because you already have it in the proposal. Okay, and then after that, of course, the result after discussion with the statisticians, we can have the findings, and then the discussion part is also a part whereby the challenges is to make sure that the students are on track. They know what to discuss about. In another way, they know what they will write about in the discussion. Similarly, in the introductory session, I think this effort will come from us as lecturers to teach them. So in the introductory session that you have to write, you know, in keeping with the objective, okay? So basically, how many words, you know, that is to be written under the introductory session. So if you actually teach them how to do it well, my experience is that it will be quite good at the end of the study, kan? So we don't have to work too hard, or the student will be so stressed up that they have to complete everything at the last phase, okay? Okay, in the discussion session, usually you will have, as lecturers, we will have to be more critical in a way, like, especially for psychiatry studies, because there tend to be some differences whereby this contributed by, you know, our sample size, our a lot of factors, you know, that may not come out as expected. So we have to teach the students of how to deal with all these findings that is obtained. So I guess the challenges will be there according to which phase, you know, the study is. So at the end of it, I think what matters most is that how the students communicate. This is another important thing. Usually my students, they will divide, you know, the tasks between themselves. So basically one person do introduction, another person do methodology, and so on. However, we must be very careful as, you know, lecturer supervising the studies. We have to be very objective and always have an idea that it is should be done as a whole, meaning that all areas should be connected well to one another, because every student has a different style of writing. So this is where the lecturer's opinion is very much needed. So I will usually spend time with the students on this part. They can write. They don't have problem in, you know, finding studies, which one to put in the introduction and which one in the discussion. But they will have problem in terms of understanding how to write or how to give a very a good impression of their study. So all these hypothetical thinking, or how to make you know, regarding the clarity of the discussion section, this one is to be discussed with the student, and most of the part has to be done by us, because if we actually rely on the students, you know, you won't get the articles that is suitable to be published. Frankly, I have to say that, because they are so inexperienced in a way of looking at articles, that they do not know how to connect, you know, the findings and how to make a good conclusion out of what they have. Okay, so I guess those are the challenges that I have. But okay, maybe I forgot to mention one more thing, because for doing studies in clinics, if you do in KKM hospital or maybe in schools, you must get permission. Always have that in mind, that you know, getting the permission also we need time. Yeah. So kalau, you know, kalau boleh lah, please don't ask the students to do research, you know, that you can actually foresee may have trouble in getting this kind of approvals, yeah, from the respective governmental bodies. Okay, I think that's it, Prof. Yeah?
Okay, thank you, Prof. Zaili. So basically, if I were to sum up the discussion just now, so the major challenges, first one is the time frame and also the monetary constraint posed by the SSM module. So we only have 1 year to complete everything from top to finish, and only have a budget of maximum of 5K to complete the study. So these two will affect the comprehensiveness of the data sometimes if the study is stand alone by itself. And also, we are dealing with the experienced students. They are not experienced in doing scientific research. So their training is very crucial in achieving accurate data and also to write up a publishable manuscript. Okay. So talking about getting the right data, sometimes we have to accept that some of our studies generate negative results, and it is difficult in publishing negative results, but it's not impossible at the same time negative results being published, okay, by supervisors. Next is actually it has to deal with the ambitions of the supervisors. Okay, so some of the I think younger lecturers will be very ambitious with their SSM students planning a very big studies. But we have to realize that this is a group of very new students, new in research, and given the time and money constraints, we should rationalize the study so that it can be completed and then it can be written out. As the study may not hit impact factor 10, but then it is at least publishable. Okay, so and we have listened to some of the recommendations by laboratory studies, how you should how do I say innovate in creating laboratory studies, maybe create a sequence of studies that can generate a lot of data, maybe park it under a bigger studies so that the result can be published together with the big study. And also we have listened to Professor Zaili in teaching a step-by-step on how to organize or how to set up reasonable studies with SSM students and some of the pitfalls we should avoid. For example, getting multiple approval, studies that need multiple approval that should be avoided. And also how to work across disciplines with other clinical disciplines, as well as with the biostatisticians to get the data publishable. Believe it or not, Professor last year when we look at the abstract, we see a lot of abstract with multiple linear regressions, which is of higher statistical skill. I believe that that has been taken into considerations and statistical consultation must have been obtained for the students to generate the complex statistic as such. Just hope that the result will be published in the future. Okay. So I wonder if there's any other recommendations by the panelists here in designing the publishable studies. Open the table.
Maybe if I can give my opinion, Prof.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yeah.
I think because we want something that is publishable, so in order to do that, we have to think of a paper already when we are designing the proposal. So it is very important when you are designing the proposal for SSM, the SVs will already have a manuscript in their mind, okay, so that they will properly design the study within the limited duration given and also within the allocated budget. As suggested just now by the panelists, there are many ways to do it, okay? As long as at the end of the day, the story is complete and the findings can be published in a good manuscript. So designing the proposal is very important. Example, you don't start from scratch for a SSM project. It would be good if the SSM project is part of the existing study carried out by the supervisor, meaning that sometimes maybe the sample is already collected, so the SSM student only need to process the sample and do the test, okay, but not to recruit the subjects or take care of the animals from the beginning, because normally for aging study, it takes about 21 months for the animal to be ready, okay, so that a sample can be collected. So just think of an extension from the existing project that the supervisor is doing would be suitable. for the SSM student. And then for the methodology, don't use method that is not yet optimized. So please, for SSM, try to use whatever or try to decide on the parameters by using method that has been optimized in your lab. So that will save time and less problematic for the student because the method has been optimized. And then thirdly, for SSM student, in my opinion, supervision is very important. So you need to properly supervise the student. Intense supervision, meaning that throughout the week of SSM week, we have to meet the student regularly. Okay, minimum, I think for me, normally minimum I will meet them once or twice a week. Okay, to discuss or for them to show their progress as well as to help them if they are facing problem when they are doing their lab work, besides doing some teaching, because we also need to teach them on how to analyze the data, on how to write the paper, because normally they have got very limited knowledge, okay, on that. So do the teaching, especially on good manuscript writing, how to write a good manuscript out of the data that you are having. So intense supervision is very important, meaning that you have to be very dedicated in supervising the SSM students so that at the end of the day, there is output produced. And thirdly, for the student training, because students were not trained, so I think it would be good if there is a dedicated medical lab technologist that can train the student. So meaning that they learn from the MLT or they learn from postgraduate student, but you don't just leave them alone. Okay, you don't just, okay, you read this paper, the methodology inside the paper and you try it yourself. Okay, normally, sometimes it works, but most of the time it doesn't work. So there must be somebody to guide the students or to train the student in terms of lab techniques, okay? And their techniques must be something that can produce, as I said earlier, reliable data, okay? Trustable data, okay? Something that can be trusted, that is valid for publication, because that is very important. So tagging with the MLTs or tagging with the postgraduate student is an advantage to SSM students. So that besides the guidance from the supervisor. Okay, so I think that are among the things that normally I practice to my SSM student. It is actually possible, okay, to publish the results from the SSM project in a Q1, Q2 journal. Okay, it is possible if we plan from the beginning. Okay, if we plan from the beginning in terms of the proposal, okay, in terms of the study that the students are going to do later. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Susanna. I think I agree with you. We should plan the study with a publishable paper as an end goal in mind, so that we'll be more careful in designing the studies. And nowadays, where we increase scrutiny of the journal on data set published by researcher, I think Prof. Susanna also touched very important point that we should have checking mechanisms on the data generated by the students, whereby if journal found that we are falsifying our data, then our reputation will be affected and then our chance of getting published will be affected. So maybe the supervisor could have a look at the some procedure to ensure the procedure conducted by the students are correct, or maybe you can assign an MLT or postgraduate students to take care of the to ensure that the students are doing the right thing. Okay, that is very important at this age and time. Okay. So what about other panelists? Do you have any additional recommendations to make sure that the SSM project is publishable?
Oh, okay. So maybe I just give a little bit extra tips actually for myself actually from my experience actually. I think starting early is very important actually because for SM students actually if you start late, the 7 weeks of protected time basically very insufficient as for myself actually because I do lab-based research. So I have to go into a lab, I do cell culture, you have to learn how to do the cell culture and so on actually. So 7 weeks definitely not enough. So we normally start early. Okay, so for design of the proposal, so preparing a proposal also very important actually. So you have to have a publication in mind when you design a proposal. When you look at it, actually you will have an idea already whether actually all the parameters actually that or the data they will collect from the proposal is it sufficient for publications. That if you think that it's not, then probably you have to think of actually what are the extra experiments that I can do that not going to cost a lot of budgets or a lot of money actually. There's something like you feasible and can be completed within the time frame. So this is very important actually. Then actually once you get the proposal ready, then you should get it ready early. Then you actually get the ethics and so on and start collect the data early already. So for me, we always start actually in CITEM, we always start the training earlier. So actually they learn how to do the cell culture earlier. So actually before once the proposal is ready, before they go to then we start the training on the cell culture already. Then after that, actually they will start to do some cell culture on their own, and then they will start their experiments on their own actually. So it's with everything earlier so that we have enough time for everything. This is very important actually as well, so actually to buy some buffering time because actually sometimes experiment might go wrong, you have to repeat. So if you don't have a buffer period, actually then at the end of the day, 7 weeks, then probably you can't get any significant or enough data or the sample size is insufficient. Yeah, so this is very important. And then the supervision is very important. Actually, I have to echo this one. Actually, the students are very new, they need a lot of supervisions, and you have to spend really a lot of time with them. And if you cannot, then probably you have to and find a core supervisor. Yeah, so actually to supervise together or get an MLT or science officer or even a postgraduate student that can spend more time with them. Yeah, so have to keep them actually always update. You have to keep prompting them, get update from them, so that they will keep their actually momentum going. Or else actually, if you lost contact for a while already, ask them to suddenly pick up, then actually will be really difficult actually. So I have to from time to time have to really spend time with them and get update from them actually and see why it's actually progressing so slow and so on. Actually, anything you have to do to remediate actually and so on actually. So things can happen, actually you have to identify earlier actually to avoid actually cannot finish the project on time or just not enough time to collect actually sufficient data. It is very important. Then I think actually a lot of experiments actually sometimes certain experiments very experimental. You haven't established the protocol in your lab yet. Then some things actually they need a lot of optimizations, will take a lot of time. Then probably definitely not something suitable for SSM students. Ideally actually you ask them to do some experiments with a very established protocol so that actually they can complete the experiments according to the protocol without any actually hiccup during the process, or else actually if you need a lot of optimizations, the students, SSM students actually sometimes not everyone might have so good because their training they receive also very limited. So they might have limited experience in optimizing and definitely they don't have a lot of time to optimize. So definitely not ideal actually if you something like so very experimental. And ideally, actually you want to collect data from sample size. If the data is already available in some electronic database and so on, actually will be the most ideal. Instead of going out actually to collect, actually ask for some search for a subject and collect the data. Actually, it will save a lot of time as well. And yes, at the end of the day, actually you might have problems actually not enough sample or some of the sample cannot be used. After rule out all this, actually the sample size insufficient. Then you want to go back to recruit more subjects, then it's not enough time already. Yeah, so some things actually maybe you have to do a pre-screening of the data, make sure okay, sufficient, the student can take the project and so on. Yeah, so and collaborations is quite important as well. I also think that's actually so yes. Yeah, if you are not so experienced in certain of the experiments, you get a collaborator that are good in it. Actually, they can help you to guide the students, save the time. And let's say if you need some equipment that is expensive, get some collaborator so that you can access for free. You can generate good data from the equipment by using it for free, then it will be great. So actually, yeah, there's something that actually we try to actually do here as well. And yes, I think that's all for me for now. That's what I can think of. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Dr. Dr. Wong, can you share with us what is the typical timeline in Department of Pharmacology when we are planning and executing SSM project? For those of you who are new, actually, when we say 7 weeks for students to do project, it's not entirely 7 weeks we give them to do data collection, but usually we'll start asking abstract at the 4th week. And that's when I get a lot of complaints. Okay. But yeah, so you actually have to start way earlier because in those 7 weeks as well, students have to plan for the conference, and there's a lot of preparation work going to the conference as well. So we say 7 weeks, but it's not exactly 7 weeks. We probably have a month, but then by the 4th week, they actually have to generate the abstract already to be submitted as part of the abstract from Wasaran. So back to Dr. Wong. What is the typical timeline? Which month will you start submitting ethics already? Which month have you start? Will you ask the students to start collecting data already?
Okay. All right. So as we know, SSM students, SSM throughout the period is actually, I'm counting it as 3 semesters, right? Because it's actually the first semester of SSM, second, and then the last one will be a 7 weeks of the so-called lab work period. Okay. But usually first semester of the SSM that I'm saying, okay, usually we will actually do our presentation of the proposal slightly earlier at the end of the first semester. So I think usually will be end of the year, like December, something like that, so that we can even start after the presentation of the proposal at the department level. Then after that, we will try to make sure that it goes into the ethics before even entering into the second semester of the SSM. So in that way, I think we can slightly move the timeline further earlier, even though it is actually we have a lot more time as according to the one it's being set by the module itself. So usually at the end of the first semester that we actually already proceed to put in the application for the ethics and everything. So usually by the end of before the starting of the second semester, we already get the ethics and everything, so that from there we can start planning our lab work, and maybe you can start teaching the students on what they are going to do, and start planning what are the things that they need to do. I think in that way it will be more systematic for them to finish up their things. So I think according to my last SSM group, I actually finished the lab work maybe, I think, even before the 7 weeks started. So, and then the 7 weeks, I actually focus on teaching them how to do the analysis and everything. So of course, I teach them really from the beginning when they get the raw data, because after finish the lab, they just actually get the raw data. So from the raw data itself, how they wanted to process it in order to get the statistical analysis out, the data out, the drawing of the graph and everything, so that they come up with the final thing. So that is, I think in that way, it will be a little bit way forward and faster before the real timeline is going. Maybe another things that I would like to share is also, besides the timeline, actually, because in most of our project, it will be a small part of a bigger project. So I think it will be very important for to brief the student in a very earlier point, how is actually the whole project going on. Because if let's say students are getting the sample directly, and they are not actually knowing that what is the sample coming from, like how is the experimental design that before this, even regardless it's a human study or animal study, but they are not sure what are actually going on earlier before they get the sample, because they get the sample only, then they proceed whatever that is after that. So I think it's very important for them to understand the whole story, and this is very important to let them know in a very earlier point. That's so that they know how the stories go on and they are able to produce a manuscript with a proper storyline. If they are not sure what is it, what is the reason, if let's say we are giving a treatment, why we are giving that treatment. So they are not sure about all this because they are not even exposed to all this before getting the samples. They are just getting this ready sample to proceed further. So I think this is something that I would like to share on. Yep, that's all from me.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wong. That's true, like in our department, pharmacology, during the SSM briefing, usually we are given a set of timeline when at least by latest, maybe by March, we should submit for ethics, something like that. But there's just recommendations. Usually we do it way earlier. So it's like end of the year or maybe January. January, the following year, we will make sure the departmental presentation has been done and the students are ready to submit the ethics. And then after getting the ethics done, then they can start the project earlier. So, and you don't want your submission to get stuck together with a bunch of SSM submissions at the same time. The ethics could be overwhelmed. And also for animal studies, you have to remember animal studies, animal meetings, animal ethics meeting only convened 2 months once. So it's very crucial to catch the timeline. But of course, we don't expect the students to raise animals like. So we only use organs that have been harvested from previous animal studies. But as per animal ethics regulations, and also as per the training also as well, even though you are not raising animal, you still have to submit animal ethics. Okay, so that is for the preclinians to know. Okay, our audience are particularly quiet today, so continue to ask questions. But remember, audience, if you have anything to ask, please type in the Q&A box and type in the chat box, because we do not have this session regularly. So if you have any burning question that you need opinion on, you need opinion from us, especially when Professor Ali is here, please text us your questions, okay, so that we can help you to solve it now. Okay. So in terms of publications, okay, just a question out of curiosity. I want to ask the panelists, is there any very peculiar, very hard comment that you have to answer when you are submitting, when you submit your SSM papers for peer review? Okay. I will start the story. I'll start my story. I will start the story first. As you say, that sometimes our study are quite small, it's not comprehensive. And then when we went for peer review, the peer reviewer actually asked us to do further tests. Okay. But by the time I don't have money already, I don't have students already. And I actually answer to the reviewers that we are given 5,000 Malaysian ringgit. And this is all I can do. But not sure you can use the same excuse, but for that studies, the reviewer actually accepted this response, and then he further encouraged that we hope that you get either grant for doing further studies, and we wish you good luck. Yeah, I think it's pure luck. Right? I met with a good person on that particular paper. But for the panelists, do you have any interesting story when you are publishing your SSM papers? Any review comments that you find very hard to deal with, and then how do you deal with them?
Okay. This is just to share. Actually, Prof. Gabriel, there usually all the questions from reviewers are hard. because
Yeah.
those are the things that they found lacking in our manuscript. So one way or another, we may have to think hard how to answer their questions. Okay. Okay, before I touch on the reviewers' comments, maybe just a bit of reminder. There is a need to remind students about ethics in publishing, kan? I think that regarding plagiarism, regarding all sorts of issues that can occur, in the publication process. So I think brief them a bit about ethics and up to what extent it can affect us and them, yeah, in future lah, if if they are caught or we are caught and so on, because sometimes because we are too busy, we may overlook on certain things, and we sort of put our trust in them to do all sorts of like what Prof. Gap has touched just now, and analysis data, handling data, and so on. Sometimes it is something that some issues can occur, right? Okay, so please always remind them the extent of outcome that can occur if the ethics are breached. Yeah. Okay. And then, okay, this is also as add-on for our students. Usually we give them lectures, yeah, for Google citations, yeah, and also how to search for the relevant journals or article journals by our librarian. But anyway, I think if we can motivate them to also look out for themselves what are the courses or what are the teaching or sessions or lectures that is being conducted by our library, because it is ongoing all throughout the year, and it is also useful. I think it is useful for our students, undergrad students, because it will just enhance their knowledge in publication. Yeah. Okay, now sharing my experience regarding the hard questions. Actually, itulah, I think all questions are hard because usually they find our flaws easily, yeah. when we publish certain things or say certain things, they are very quick to point it out. Okay. The first thing is regarding language is, we have to really, okay, it's like this. If we want our publication or our manuscript to be have a high chance to get published, usually I think the first impression is very important. Okay, so there are two phases where you can get rejected, before peer review or after peer review. So basically, abiding to the author guideline, doing everything that the guideline says, formatting correctly is very important as first impression. So usually, my experience, if we don't do it properly, if you always rely on the students without checking, usually it tends to get rejected because it's just because they do not agree with there are too many flaws. Usually, if there are only some flaws, they can actually comment and baiki here and improve there. But then if too many flaws, it sort of make the impression not good at all. So they will just reject outwardly without peer review. And also my experience, language is also important. So my advice, usually, even if that is another issue, yeah, Prof. Gap, I think we want to proofread pun, we need some budget, to do the proofreading. So I would advise at least before you submit for your for the first time, you have to go through the available, yeah, available software, for example, detecting grammatical errors. So make sure that you at least complete that, baru, then you can send for the first time, because first impression does count. That is the message that I want to convey. Okay, and then for the proofreading part later, after the reviewer's comment, for you to always improve on your manuscript or language, which is without fail, yeah. Without fail, my articles has been commented like that. All the articles, you have to improve your language, send for proofreading. So I usually will correct it later part after the reviewers commented on it. Okay, and then the hard part is, as Prof. Gap has already mentioned, that they want us to not really to reanalyze, it is actually to look into the methodology process and ask us to sort of improve the way of how we collect the data, or, you know, get the samples and so on. So that is a hard question, because it is, we can't do that. We can't do that at all. Okay, so basically the trick is to answer them, you know, you need to show that you respect their opinion and have some justification of why it cannot be done, like maybe because of the budget, or because of the time limitation, or because of the approval, you know, approval deadline has, you know, it has crossed the approval deadline. And I think so far I managed to they managed to accept that kind of responses. Okay, and then another thing is the reviewer also often commented on discussions part. Usually they comment on the discussion part, but they make it so general as and make you ask yourself, actually, what are they trying to tell me? You know, it is very vague. So you can't sort of know what is it that they want me to do? Is it they want me to add here, or, you know, delete this section there, and so on? So my experience, yeah, I have had that kind of US response, which I find hard because I cannot proceed. So what I did was I contacted the editorial team and just convey the my issues or my dilemma. And surprisingly, they did answer. And I think they conveyed to the reviewer, and I got back, you know, a very clear guide on how I should improve the discussion section. So I guess with the reviewer's comment, although they seems very harsh, just accept it as you know, that there are always flaws in doing research or writing manuscript paper. So as best as possible, we respond by giving them what they need. Yeah. And at the same time, you know, we have to be respectful. No matter how harsh that they seem to us, but when we want to reply, always be respectful to the reviewers. And I guess that also creates an impression, okay, on them, you know, from the authors lah. Okay, so that is my experience as far as I can remember. Okay, Prof. Gad, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Riley. So to all the audience here, you can always download Grammarly and can use it for free to check the grammar. Okay, and always remember to answer the reviewers with sincerity, with full effort, showing that you have intention to improve the manuscript, and try to avoid confrontational language in answering real comments. Although sometimes you get very heartbreaking, but then just try your best to convey emotions when answering. Okay. What about this? Do you have any interesting experience to share in answering the real comments for your assessment studies?
Maybe I just share my experience. Of course, I agree with Prof. Suzaili's comment just now, but just one more thing, don't ever give up. Okay, in trying to publish your manuscript, please don't ever give up. At least if it is rejected, you still have the reviewer's comment. So please try to improve the paper based on the comment given by the reviewers. Okay. And if there is limitation to the study, just tell, okay? You inform the reviewers whatever limitation that you were facing when you were doing the study. So as Prof. Gabriel mentioned just now, just be sincere. Okay, try to give the answer as sincere as possible. And of course, there are limitations, okay? But if we explain to the reviewers, normally they can take it. And then, so don't ever give up is very important, I think, not only for SSM data, but also data from your other research studies. Okay, please try to publish as much as possible. Don't waste the data because it involves a lot of money. So try to go by the high rank journal and then slowly we go down as long as it is published at the end of the day in Web of Science. Okay. And secondly, which is I think important for the supervisors, is to keep the soft copy of the raw data. Okay, even though we trust the students, at least as a supervisor, you have a copy of the raw data in Excel format. Because throughout the publication process, sometimes you need to do more. Okay, from whatever is given by the student, sometimes it is not enough. So based on the reviewers' comment, sometimes you have to change the angle of the manuscript, or you have to change the way that the data is presented. Then in order to do that, you need the raw data. Okay, and sometimes you even have to reanalyze or maybe process again the data. And maybe sometimes you also need to add more experiment. So please always bear in mind, at the end of the SSM module, you ask the student to share the soft copy of the raw data in Excel format. So in future, when you are trying to publish the manuscript, you have the data with you. Because the students, normally they'll be very busy. Once the SSM period ends and they enter year 5, they'll be very busy, and sometimes they don't even cooperative. Okay, they don't show cooperation when you ask things from them. So from the beginning, because I can understand they are too busy, especially when we ask them to review or revise the manuscript. So it would also be good if you are too busy to have another lecturer, yeah, to help you in revising the manuscript, because we can add the lecturer as a co-author later on when they are involved in the in revising the manuscript. But most importantly is to have the raw data with you. Okay, thank you, Prof. Gap. I think that's all in terms of the other things from me. Yeah.
Our younger lecturers, Dr. Law and also Dr. Wong, any
Yeah.
any comments, any interesting experience want to share?
I don't have with my SSM students actually, because actually I didn't aim very high for my first batch. So actually I'm thinking of, yes, I don't have a lot of data. So I'm thinking of, yes, we just publish, then it's good enough already. So I just find a WOS index journal, the Science Malaysia, then publish. But yes, but for other papers, I do encounter a lot of, yeah, experience lah. Actually, normally actually a lot of times actually I will receive actually rejection by the editor without any peer review. Okay, so I don't, yes, they just say that sometimes it's just not good enough. Then sometimes they just say that it's not within the scope and so on. So actually, can be different reasons actually they reject you, but don't give up actually, because the number of journal out there is actually quite a lot. And we have every year actually there are new journal being added to the WS indexing. So the lists are getting longer and longer, but sometimes you have to be careful as well, because some of the journal might be removed from the indexing. So actually you don't want to actually, yeah, submit there. And of course, actually, another thing actually you might want to check is actually like in UKM, we normally look at the impact factor 2 years back. So actually, so you might have just have an impact factor last year, so you publish this year. 2 years back, so actually don't have impact factor. So yeah, so things that you really have to check lah, and make sure actually that you not wrongly submitted actually to a new journal that just received an impact factor, because sometimes actually a new journal is maybe easier to get into, because they are still new, they don't have receive a lot of paper, so that probably is actually a bit easier, and rejection rate is a bit lower. Yeah, but have to be careful lah, actually. But anyways, actually, just have to remember there are so many journals out there. If this one reject you, just try another. Actually, eventually there will be ones actually that can accept your research to publish there. Yeah, just don't give up.
I agree with Dr. Law, you just need one acceptance. Just one. Okay. So what about Dr. Wong?
To me, because I think SSM I just have one paper. So for that paper, basically the comment doesn't it's more towards lab question lah. So meaning that they ask you why you are doing this, what you are doing that. So but in terms of, if let's say I think if let's say reviewer are saying that your data is not enough, I think you can address it as one of your limitation of the studies lah. Okay, I think it will be good enough as long as the storylines goes well for the manuscript. So if let's say there are some suggestion from the reviewer, I think you can just, I think it is I would suggest to put it as, address it as a limitation of the studies. So I think that will be very good. So I think nothing much from me at the moment. So same, don't give up. Sometimes just get rejected for the first one. So keep on trying. So usually you will turn out will be at least will be somewhere lah. All right. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Dr. Wong. Just for one, I think we are now at the age of AI. So I just have one reminder for the supervisor as well when you're looking at the manuscript of your students. I think that can actually place the entire, place the entire manuscript from top until result, and then ask the ChatGPT to write the manuscript, to write the discussion part. They can do that. So I think the supervisor has to be alert that you should be able to recognize ChatGPT writing. There are some software available online for you to check whether the writing is done by AI or not. Okay, so you are allowed to use tools like ChatGPT to polish the English. This is another way of polish your English apart from using proofreader services or using Grammarly. You can actually ask ChatGPT to proofread. But be specific in your command, not to alter the content of your manuscript. And also you have to declare that you have used ChatGPT in polishing the manuscript, but the authors are solely responsible for the content of the manuscript in the acknowledgement sessions. Without doing that, the journal editor can always blame you, saying that you are using AI for writing. There are some characteristics of AI writing that you should pay attention to, whereby AI writing is very vague. AI writing, they can write a lot, but you'll find that the point carried out is very vague, you lack perspective. So when you recognize this kind of characteristic in students' manuscript, you should be alert. Okay. So there's one thing that I really need lecturers or potential supervisors to be aware of. It's a big issue nowadays. Okay. So again, no question from the audience? I didn't miss anything.
No question, Prof. Greg. So we will have many SSM papers published this year.
So
I hope.
produce a lot. So I do understand that some clinicians are very busy. For example, Berlin Meds doing exam at this today actually, this hour actually, and we will upload this forum in my YouTube channel, and then I will ask SPF to upload it. Okay. So I hope later we'll ask the Juan Munira also to help to circulate the video link to this video, so that I hope even supervisor who cannot make time for these sessions can also be benefited. So before we end the sessions, any last words for our or potential supervisors or potential authors of SSM papers that is currently present? Any last advice for them?
My advice is more to regarding SSM. Okay, so please for lecturers, keep up the motivation until the end. Yeah, because I think if you help the student publish, this is a way of truly giving them motivation, for future, for also doing future research. Yeah, because I think the name is there forever, kan? If we all know, it's something that is everlasting. Kan? And they usually they will be very proud of their publication, even though it is not of Q1 or Q2 journals, right? As long as it is publishable and showing that their effort all year, all throughout the year. So I think they will be very proud of it. So I guess keep up the motivation to help them publish. Okay. And Prof. Gabriel will help lah, with the publication process. We have Benkel, right, Prof. Gab? So during
yeah, we open at least 2 times Benkel each year to help you to polish script. Yeah.
And the outcome usually positive, right? After the Benkel, if let's say for publication.
I mean, the authors are happy with the improvement, just that I cannot control the out whether they eventually get submitted or published or not. Yeah.
Yeah, but then the aim is always to help publish. Sometimes, yeah, my experience, if we have findings that is not really, no significant findings, for example, kan, sometimes we feel very demotivated. We don't know where to send. So I think for any problems with the studies or studies like this, please join the workshop so that we can figure out where you can send the paper, because in the end, our aim is always to help lecturers and students to publish all SSM papers. It doesn't matter what finding you have, good or not, good or bad, but we want it to be published. Okay, that's it. Thanks, Prof. Gab.
Any panelists, last word for our audience today?
Yeah,
Anyone?
so for me, actually just to want to let everyone know, actually, if you are new, just remember you are not alone, actually, so you can get actually advice or support from the seniors, actually from the department or also from the faculty and also from the SSM, from society as well, actually. So yes, if you are not sure how to plan whether a proposal is good enough for publication or not, actually at the end of the day, just ask someone, actually they can give you some suggestions. If you are not sure what to add, actually you can ask someone else actually to get their opinion and think what you can be able to do, or maybe they can help to contribute into your paper as well. Who knows? So just remember, actually don't work in silo and work in group, then you will go further and you can enrich your the research output as well. Okay.
Dr. Law? Prof? Sue?
Yeah, for me, it's just don't give up lah. Don't give up, because there are so many ways to improve the paper so that the finding can be publishable. So keep on trying. Okay.
Thank you, Prof. Sue. So Wong?
Yeah, so from me will be if let's say for all the lecturer out there, so just make good arrangement, make sure the timing, everything according to the timeline. So I think it will be SSM project will goes accordingly. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you. So just a reminder also for the supervisors, because the faculty grant is actually 5K per project. So even if you cannot hit WOS journal perfect, of course we ask you to try this, Q1 to Q4. But just in case you can't cuba 10 kali, try 10 times and still got rejected, you get a bit tired, you can always go to ESCI journal. That's okay. Okay. Go to Scopus also okay.
Prof. Tia,
Yeah.
sorry. I maybe afterwards I will add up, since you mentioned on, the platform where to publish. Okay, I'll add up.
Okay. But just remember, like, we only fund Q1 to Q4 journals for IPC. You publish in SCI, then it's difficult for us to refund you. So you publish in SCI journal, you make sure that there's no IPC lah. And or Scopus only journal, make sure there's no IPC, so that you won't get caught in the financial situations. Okay. Worst come to worst, if let's say you get a very negative result, or it's all negative, no significant at all, they are still advertising for publish. Okay. Look for journals that would accept negative results. Worst come to worst, there are few journals by allied health science faculty. Sorry, health science faculty MSK. There are two biomedical journals there actually who can accept medical results as well. Okay, so if you have no idea where to send, please give me a call. Please email me, and then we'll figure out this together. Or else join our workshop. We'll have two expert reviewer reviewing your manuscript, improving your manuscript, and then we can figure out where to send. Okay, Rosalie, you want to add on?
Okay, yeah, I think easier said is that, you can call Prof. Gabriela just to ask what is the suitable journal, kan? Okay, so I just want to add up. Do you all know that if let's say you cannot publish in journals, you can also think of magazines, or where it can be published. Now, we are handling, for the SSM research, we can publish in Resmi, yeah. So as you all know, Resmi is you can online kan? Yeah, online, and then we use Bahasa Malaysia. You know, you can publish your research there, which is very short. I think the first Resmi will be published this month, I think. Okay, so you can take a look at the first few articles that has been contributed by lecturers, you know, by a number of lecturers. And, you know, please don't give up. I think even if you are still in the process of submitting to journals, you can publish in Resmi because that is in Bahasa. You are not, you know, you just take a summary of the whole research and you know, publish it there in a certain language. You know, I think please take a look later when it is published this month of how to go about it. It is very simple. You still can get publication in the form of article, yeah, while trying to find suitable journal for your manuscript, or when you are exhausted of trying to find journal for your manuscript. So, you know, please do something with the SSM manuscript and don't just let it be there without, you know, sayang lah, it's a 1-year project, and the students have contributed significantly. Okay, that's it. Prof. Gap just now advertise a bit about Resmi. Okay, thank you.
But probably Resmi written in like layman language, right? Rather than very scientific. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So you can promote the reach of your research to journal audience. And I believe that publications in SSM studies will be a great motivators for the students to continue their research journey. Believe or not, some of the students who are very motivated, who get their papers published, they feel motivated, they will come back to you after graduation, looking for placement or looking for attachments opportunity before they enroll in their housemanship. Okay, how much an SSM project could motivate the students. Okay, so I think we are saying enough. I hope we will arrange a similar forum in the future to discuss about this. I hope maybe next round will be a lot more clinicians panelists so that we can discuss more about clinical studies. Okay. So thank you all the panelists for spending your time. And, I know it's last minute call. Thank you so much for coming out and share your expertise and experience with our audience today. And for the audience, thank you so much for spending 1 hour with us in discussing how to publish your SSM studies. So with that, thank you everyone, and goodbye. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.